6 years of freedom following 6 years of brutal captivity. In what seems like another life, she was a hostage held by FARC rebels in the Colombian jungle, cut off from the world. Welcome to the Global Conversation, where I'm joined by Ingrid Betancourt. Many thanks for being with us. You've certainly been busy since these years of freedom. You've gone back to university, you're a very devoted mother, and also an author. You've just published your second novel, La Ligne Bleue. But my first question to you is, do you keep so busy to keep those ghosts of your past away?
No, I think that they are away. I mean, the past is in the past. I'm not fighting to not remember. But I think I want to live my life. I think perhaps I'm running in the sense of trying to catch up the time I lost in the jungle. So that's why I love to have an intense life. And I want it to be, to use every second as much as I can.
Your novel, La Ligne Bleue, is also quite intense. It's a page-turner, it's a love story, it's a drama. The Argentinian conflict, the dirty war, is pivotal to the story. The character Julia is strong. She remains strong despite her terrible experiences at the hands of the military, torture, imprisonment. But how much of Julia is you?
No, Julia is different, and perhaps I wish I could be like Julia, but I'm not. Julia is a girl that has a gift. She has the ability of looking into the future. And what I wanted to do with Julia and the other characters, the two main characters, Julia and Theo, was to discuss issues like destiny. What happens if we believe in destiny? Are we jeopardizing our freedom? And my thesis is that freedom is our ability to act or react in front of those situations that we cannot change, that we call destiny.
So in some respects, that is a very personal kind of part of the story.
Well, I think, as a writer, you feed your whatever you write with your own experience. But I wanted Julia to be different in the sense that I wanted her to have her own life. She doesn't have my life, she doesn't have my experience. But at the same time, I can sympathize with what she goes through, and it helps me to just, talk about things like spirituality, like metaphysics in a way, like love and choices, and freedom and human dignity. Those are things that in normal life we just think as abstract concepts, but they shouldn't.
So you try and bring them to life in this work and create a thought-provoking story? Yes,
and I hope I hope that people will be able to enter into the novel, like opening drawers. There are questions about violence, about our choices, about how do we become heroes or how do we become villains? How can somebody torture some other?
So you must have drawn, as you were saying, on your life experiences as you fleshed out her characters, you fleshed out the story. Was it difficult to write?
It was a pleasure to write, actually. My first book, Even Silence Has an End, was difficult because it was my memories. It was really the memoir of what I lived in the jungle. But here, I was composing, I was creating, I was following my characters. Once they had their personality and their background set, in a way, I was following them. So it was a very nice and enjoyable experience.
Is it difficult that once your book now has been published that you lose control of it, that it's subject to multiple interpretations, that you lose ownership of the story?
Yeah, but I think it's important, and in a way it's a blessing. A book is a human being talking. That's what a book is. But then it's a dialogue. When you talk with someone, then you have a response, and everyone will have a different response. And I think that is what it's all about.
Julia is able to put her past behind her, it seems, but she's in fiction. Have you been able to put your past behind you?
Yes, in what I want to put it back behind me. There are things that I want to retrieve, and there are things that I think are important today not to lose. I think there was some kind of treasure that I brought back from that experience.
What was the treasure?
The treasure is the dialogue I have with myself, the way I got to know myself and also to know the others. You see, in the jungle, I think I was confronted to the worst of human beings, but also to the best. And in a way, it made me love the other. And I think that today I have the ability to just go beyond the first impression that I can have from someone.
But there was a certain amount of attrition, not only obviously with the hostage takers, but also with your fellow hostages. Where did you see the good?
In situations, in compassion, in generosity, from guards that were at one point trying to be good, even if they were told to be sometimes even sadistic. This kind of humility that you have in some people that are willing to give everything to just help somebody else. The generosity of my fellow hostages in sharing food, in sharing, and even in hugging. The human being is a very complex machine, but it's a wonderful, I mean, we should be, how to say this, so proud of being human beings and having this capacity of transcendence, of always being able to I would say, overcome fears, darkness. We're seekers of light.
We've asked our online audience, we've tried to get as many people involved in this interview as possible, and we've asked our online audience to send us in questions. And we received this question from Kamran Dami, and he says, is it possible to forgive after all you went through?
Well, I think that forgiveness is not something that you feel spontaneously, but you must forgive.
Why must you forgive? Because I don't see why one has to forgive.
Because forgiveness is about freeing yourself. When you are caught by hatred, you let the other one, the one that has harmed you, impose on you his agenda, his emotional agenda. You need to be free to be able to feel whatever you want, not to be under the control of someone that has hurt you. So I think that forgiveness is the first path to be truly, truly free, emotionally free.
But it's not easy.
It's not easy, and I think it's something that you have to do. I mean, rationally, it's very easy to say, I'm going to forgive. But emotionally, it's something that you have to do like every day. Sometimes I have these images that come from the past, and I can see my emotions and how hard it can be for me. And then I have to just go back to my, to what I have decided to feel, and then try to tune myself with my decisions. And then, yeah, I would say that forgiveness is a discipline, a spiritual discipline, and you have to just be there every day.
And spirituality is obviously important to you. You're a devout Catholic. When you're in the jungle, did you ever question your religion? Did you ever just want to put it to one side and not believe that there could be a God?
Well, I have many issues with my religion. When I think I am a rebellious Catholic. There are many things from my religion that I'm not comfortable with. But I think that let's put aside religion and let's talk about the relationship we have with ourselves and through ourselves with that other dimension that we can call God. Then that's a strength.
You are free. But is it difficult nowadays because you're not free of your identity? You're a prisoner of your identity, always seen as Ingrid Betancourt, who was a prisoner. Do you want to shake that off, or does it serve a purpose in some respect?
Freedom is a very complex concept. It's a relational concept. You're free from someone or free with someone. It's also something that you need to exercise with yourself, free of your character, free of your prejudices, free even of things that you have done in the past that you don't want to.
Does it annoy you that you'll always be recognized as a former hostage?
No, because that's my reality. I mean, I am a former hostage. I'm a former hostage in every dimension of what I am, as a woman, as a mother, as a writer, even as a politician. I will be always a hostage or a former hostage.
Do you use it to your advantage?
I think I do. I think I do. And I think that we all have to try to change those sad things in our life in opportunities to grow and to make it a positive thing.
We received this question from Aubin Héritier Mboukou, who says, what are you doing now to help other hostages who are in similar crises to yours, or other hostages who are still being held in Colombia for that matter?
Yes, well, I try to do as much as I can. I'm very engaged. Whenever I'm called, for example, I'm very active with Otage du Monde. I go to be with them in conferences, to make it vocal, to have the press or the media's attention in specific cases, French people that are abducted. In Colombia too, I try to defend the rights of the victims of terrorism. You know, in the world there's something very curious. Victims are so much shown as guilty of their fate.
Did you have that?
Oh yes, very much. And many of the people that have been in this situation that I have been able to talk to, we all feel that at some point people turn to you and say, well, but you were not careful enough, you were not prudent, you could have avoided what happened to you, and that's not true.
Do you feel guilty that you were freed basically because you had notoriety, because you were well known, whereas your fellow hostages have not been freed? Is that a guilt?
No, I feel very lucky. I mean, if I hadn't that, I probably would still be in the jungle. But I think that helped me, of course, but other hostages too, through me. And yes, I think that it's very important to be vocal for others, because sometimes the ones that are in the jungle or captive or abducted don't have this media exposure. So we have to be there for them, to give them that exposure.
You've also been you lent a lot of support to the Colombian now president Juan Manuel Santos in his election campaign because of his support of the peace process with FARC rebels. How did it feel getting involved in politics again?
It was kind of odd. It was the first time I was doing it after my liberation, and it was odd because I wanted to be I didn't want to get into politics. I didn't feel I was strong enough. But I thought that was a very important moment for Colombians, that we needed to take the right decision. Juan Manuel Santos, at the moment I reacted, was losing the campaign, and his frontrunner was the candidate of the war. And I think that Colombians reacted in a very positive way. And I think that suddenly there was this thought about, well, we have two choices. We need to achieve peace. One choice is to exterminate the other, the one that thinks differently. The other way is to just hold hands and say, okay, I recognize you as a human being. Let's work together for a better world.
How far now will your political career go? Is this the beginning?
I'm not sure. I see myself as somebody that is opening doors. I'm available. I want to be available for the good causes. I'm not sure I want to get into the political arena. You know, it's the souvenir I have of my experience as politic is a very difficult and
were you a good politician?
One. Yeah, I was a very good politician. I was really fighting. But when you fight, you receive very strong blows too. Those things hurt, and you need to be tough. I don't know if I'm tough enough to get back there, but I think that perhaps if I feel that I can regain that strength, and if Colombia thinks it's a good moment, and if I can be useful, perhaps I could think about that.
Working on the peace process?
Working on the peace process, yeah, that could be an option.
How would you see FARC rebels actually being integrated into political life? Because that's something that's being put on the table. Do you think that's possible? You know them, you live with them.
I know them. You see, one of the things that I learned in the jungle is that human beings are complex, and you always need to open a door to give the opportunity to that person that is acting horribly against you to change, and to draw the light in him. I think that if we just say these are terrorists, they're bad, the only thing for them is to go to jail. We are denying them the opportunity of transforming themselves into people that are useful for society. And I say this because we have other examples. In Colombia, we had this rebel group, the M19. They did a peace process some years ago. And the leaders of the M19 are today very important politicians in Colombia. And they have been transforming politics and bringing good ideas. And even though they were violent and they killed people, and it's something that we cannot ignore, I think that they took the opportunity of being good Colombians.
Do you think that past crimes, you've hinted at it, should go unpunished? Would you be willing that your former hostage takers would go unpunished if that would help the peace process go forward?
No, unpunished is not the good word. I think that forgiveness is not equivalent to impunity. I think justice has to be there, but we have to be creative in the ways we can do justice. Sometimes jail is an option, but we could think about other options. For example, I have been thinking that it would be wonderful, especially for, I had girls that were guarding me. I would love to see them change or exchange their rifles, their machine guns for flowers. You know that we have an incredible, huge export flower industry in Colombia. I would love to be able to create, for example, flower farms where there could be owners and workers there, and to give them the opportunity to be, earning good money but doing good things.
You sound like a politician.
Yeah, I think I am, still.
When you left the jungle, you said that you wouldn't deny yourself life's small pleasures, flowers in your room, a cup of tea if you fancied one,
Yes.
a cake, ice cream. Do you still live by that?
Oh, absolutely. And I have been tuning my kind of daily rules. I think that one of the things, and I talk about that in the novel, is about the blue line is about this horizon of happiness, where we see ourselves. The happiness for us is sometimes it's in the past, and we are feeling sad because happiness is not anymore in our lives, or in the future, like something we're longing and we're like running or doing everything we can to attain that happiness. But I think that happiness truly is about the moment. How can we learn to live happiness in the present, to walk in that blue line on the present? And for example, right now with you in this beautiful Paris with this beautiful weather, well, that's happiness for me right now.
But la ligne bleue, the blue line, as you mentioned, is the sky and the sea meeting. Yes. That's unattainable.
Well, it's an allegory for the physics, for inside of ourselves, the physical part and the spiritual part. And at the end, Julia has this kind of insight where she sees that there's no more line between the spiritual and the physical, between the sea and the sky. And I think that's what we need to achieve, is to understand that all that we are, spiritual and physical, it has to blend together to make us aware of the life we're living in the present. We cannot live in another manner.
Well, we'll end with a question from somebody called Francis Grady. Are you happy and fulfilled?
Yes and no. Yes, because I think I have everything I wish to have, and I have learned to be grateful with life. And no, because I think that you need to have hope, and hope is about always going further, and that's the little engine we have in us to just move us onwards. So I think that I want to keep that on balance. I think it's healthy.
Ingrid Betancourt, many thanks for being with me on The Global Conversation.
Thank you so much, Isabel.